Shabbat Shalom, peace. Welcome to another Sabbath conversation. For those who are new to my channel, my name is Eliana, and in today's video, I actually wanted to build on something. I was actually watching a clip from the movie called Love the One You're with David Brian Woodside and Nadine Ellis, and there was a scene where they were having an argument, and it was about her going to an event with him, like something he planned for months, and she chose to at that moment say my work is more important and can't you just go by yourself. And just watching that clip, it just kind of like sent me into like a whole series of thoughts. And I do want to do like a breakdown of like or a commentary just on that clip alone, but in this conversation, I just want to kind of share like some of the thoughts that were going on in my head. And I do want to know what you sisters like think about that. And so I wanted to speak about this concept of the gullible woman, because many times I hear sisters say to women who are more submissive and who listen to their men and their head, their coverings, whoever that man is in that sister's life, I'll hear sisters say like, oh, she listens to everything that he says. She's hanging on his every word. I've heard sisters like comment on other sisters, like when they see that woman is very like respectful of that man and she's listening and is absorbing what is being said without over talking. And I've heard women say like, yeah, she just listens. It's like an irritation that they have, like, oh, she listens to everything he says, like, like is something wrong with that? But yet Torah, it's in alignment with what she's supposed to do as a woman. So I wanted to like speak about like the difference between like a woman who is gullible versus a woman who is not actually gullible. And I want to share the definition of what gullible means. So it's one who is easily deceived or tricked, quick to believe everything that other people say. And when I read that, it's like, okay, in being gullible, you have someone who is easily tricked and fooled. And I think sometimes women confuse righteous leadership with being easily, like when a woman's receptive to that she's being fooled or tricked in some sort of way. But we really have to look at whether or not what she's absorbing and receiving is a lie, because that's what being deceptive is. Is she being told lies? If not, if what she's being given is righteous light, righteous words from the Most High from the Most High Yah, founded in truth, and it's not lies, then we really have to like question, like, is that sister really being deceived? Doesn't really necessarily seem like that's the case. But you'll have like women in particular, when they decide to leave a relationship, they'll go back and say, oh, I was fooled, I was tricked, I believed everything that he was saying to me, and it was all lies, but she's saying this out of emotion. So we have to go back and look, like, was she really being told lies, or did it come to a point where she was being held accountable, but her character wasn't able to sustain her in a situation, so now she's upset. She didn't want to take accountability for maybe how she was damaging the relationship, and so she just says, oh, no, you're wrong. She projects that, she gaslights and saying, like, you're the one that's wrong, not me. No, you're the one that's wrong. You've lied to me. You've tricked me. And I wanted to connect it to being gullible. So we have to really look. A person like I'll go and speak about a woman who is not gullible. So when a woman, okay, I have my notes, but I'm just trying to make sure I stay on track because I feel like I'm kind of like skipping. Okay, so there's a difference between a woman who is truly gullible. So a woman who is truly gullible, she is a woman who lacks accountability. And oftentimes she'll say that her freedom of choice was taken away from her. Like she all of a sudden, when she leaves a situation, all of a sudden she didn't have choice to make decisions. All of a sudden she didn't have the discernment that she now has. But it's like, okay, where were you foundating your truth from previously? Like, what made you think that what you were receiving was the truth to begin with, and why all of a sudden now it's not true and you believe that you've been deceived and tricked? Like, what are you foundating that on? What is your measuring tool? It can't just be based off how you feel. It has to be based on Torah for those sisters, for those of us who are walking this walk and we're striving to live in righteousness and deepen our connections with our Creator. For us, like, we have to always do a self-assessment and look at where our emotions may be coming from. Is it coming from truth? Is it coming from our culture? Is it coming from our laws that the Most High has gave our ancestors? Or is it coming from because I'm feeling some sort of way? And I know I live in a culture where I've been programmed and I've been damaged. My ancestors have been damaged. We went into war, and there's been a lot of psychological tactics that were used to destroy the black woman and the black man. And so we have a lot of trauma, and we have, as women, we have to be able to discern, like, when it's the trauma that's speaking, because we know we've been programmed and we're trying to deprogram ourselves, versus when it's truly is about discernment and what's right. So a woman who is not gullible, if, let's say, a situation doesn't work out, she takes accountability and she doesn't blame other people because she was not gullible, and so she knows that the choices that she was making in a relationship or in a situation, they were her choices. She was empowered to make the choices that she made. It wasn't somebody tricking her or deceiving her because she didn't want to make choices, because she didn't feel empowered to make choices. Like, she understood what she was doing. So, like, if anything goes wrong, she's perfectly fine with saying, like, that was actually my fault. I chose to do this. I chose to do that. I was aware of everything that I was doing. And that's a sign of a woman who was not being manipulated. She didn't relinquish making choices and just like, okay, you make all the decisions for me because I don't want to be accountable for anything. No. So, like, if something was to happen, she immediately takes responsibility and she immediately takes accountability and says, like, you know what, this is what I did. I shouldn't have did this, this, and this. But someone who is gullible and doesn't take accountability and doesn't want to take control over, like, what they do have control over, making righteous decisions, they don't really have a foundation or a standard. They don't really have integrity to say, like, you know what, these are the choices that I'm making because I'm standing upright as a righteous person. They're trying to be righteous, right? We're all always striving to be righteous. She's not standing in that. So as soon as something goes wrong, she's like, oh, this person did it, this person did it. It's like, no, you didn't have any integrity. You didn't have any character. You didn't have good character. So now you feel like you were easily tricked and deceived. But we really have to look, those of us women who have discernment, we really have to look like, was you really deceived? Or did you just become upset because because you were being held accountable for something? And what is it that you feel like you were tricked and manipulated on? Okay, let's go and break that down. What was it? And if they like, it was just everything. If they're speaking like vague, then you kind of know, like, is this person? Is this person? So it's not the woman who is choosing to listen to right knowledge, to be respectful of men. She's making a choice to do that. So she's not gullible. She's not just listening to whatever. She filters out what is improper. Like, I know for me, like, I would sit there all day and listen to my head. And I trust and I know that whatever is being poured into me is righteous. So I don't really have to have any filters of, like, oh, I shouldn't listen to this, I shouldn't listen to that. There's no filter there. But when it comes to the outside world, other women giving poor advice, saying certain things, I'm very, like, I'll listen, but I'm very discerning, because I'm like, I filter, like, is this something I should listen to? And why are they telling me this? Where are they speaking from? Where is their heart at? Are they really trying to give sound wisdom, or are they trying to mess up my situation and get me in a situation where now I'm sinning and going against the Most High? So a woman who is easily swayed, and that goes into the next point. She's actually the gullible one. Although, when I say that, a lot of times she's not being easily swayed, really. She's making the choice because maybe she does know that what's being said is right, but is that deception of twisting what is righteous and saying like, no, it's just not wanting to take accountability. That's all it is. Now I'm saying I was deceived, I was tricked, but it's like, no, you was in control. You were saying this was right. This is more right than what I've ever heard in my life. These people tell lies out here, but now I found the truth. She'll say all of that, but then again, when it's time to take accountability, it's like all of that is out the window, and it's like, oh, I've been tricked and deceived. So, moving on to the next point of, I've also like here, when I go back to the clip that I was looking at how she was a woman who had her career, and she tried to make it seem like she was being oppressed in some sort of way, like a part of her was being denied, but it's because she didn't really know who she was, and it was so deep what he had said to her. I'm not doing an analysis of the clip now because I'm not showing it, so you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to go into the aspect of women saying, I've been oppressed in some sort of way. I wasn't able to follow my dreams. That's an example of someone saying like, I'm being oppressed by being in this relationship with a man. I wasn't able to find myself because I didn't get to explore. It makes me think about Hosea, and I wish I would have like pulled that verse up. But she's out there thinking that the things that she loves in life, that's what's filling her. That's what's giving her, it's vanity. That's what's giving her all the riches, the gifts, the whatever she likes in life, whatever blessings that she's receiving. She thinks it's because of what she's doing, what she's out there achieving and striving towards. Whereas the Most High Yah was saying, like, I already gave you those things. And you know what? I'm going to show you that I'm going to take it away too. Until you humble. I'm going to make you humble yourself. I'm going to make you recognize and know that it was me all along. So when men, like try to put the focus and try to put what's really important in front of a woman's eyes and say like, okay, you put more value on working than taking care of your household. Like, it's not that I'm being selfish, but I'm trying to tell you that what you're striving for out there in the world, you already have, just like Yah told Israel. You didn't have to go and play the prostitute and play the harlot and say like, oh, I was never able to do this. I was suppressed. I was, I didn't get to fulfill my highest potential because of this relationship, because of this man. But he's trying to remind her, just like Yah was reminding Israel, like everything that you have is here. You think it's out there. Proverbs 13:1 says, every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish one tears it down with her own hands. There wouldn't be a scripture like that if women were not doing that. And the Most High is already saying like, okay, it is the foolish woman who tears her house down with her own hands. There are women who do this. So we have to look at like, well, how many women have done this? How many of us have done this? So we have to ask ourselves that. All the women who are not building a house are building her house. So the man a lot of times is trying to bring that order to maintain the house, make sure that it's not destroyed or things are not coming in to destroy it, or the woman is not destroying it from the inside out. So a lot of times he's trying to bring order so that doesn't occur. And I think about the scripture, Genesis 3:16-17, when Yah says after Yah found out that they ate the fruit, he said to the woman, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you will bring forth children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. So if the Most High is saying that your husband, your desire should be towards your husband, and he will rule over you, then obviously there's nothing wrong with that. If that was a commandment that Yah gave, like, no, he's supposed to rule over you. He's supposed to do that. So Yah is saying there's nothing wrong with a man ruling over the woman that he's governing. So why is it that when women leave relationships and they say like, oh, he was trying to control me, we have to really, with our discerning minds, ask, was he trying to control or deceive and trick you, or was he trying to control to maintain some type of order? There's a difference. And okay, Genesis 3:17 says, to Adam he said, this is to the man, he said to Adam, turn after he said to the woman, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. In pain you will bring forth children, your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Then he turned to Adam and said, because you have listened to your wife's voice and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying you should not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. So Yah was saying like, you listen to your wife's voice over what was right. So when women try to get men to go against Yah by saying, you listen to me, I heard, I was seeing that, I came across a clip where a woman was speaking about how men should submit to women, and she was kind of confused. She was using the wrong term. She was using the word submission to really talk about a man like respecting what a woman's role is. So, for example, if she's, throwing down in the kitchen and the man respects that, he may not interfere. He's like, all right, you got it. Versus like a man maybe not respecting that, maybe he'll come and be like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Maybe she's a chef, maybe she knows what she's doing, but he's coming in and trying to control that. So it seems like she was really speaking about men respecting the role of a woman, but she was using the word submission, which is different. And the man that she was speaking to in the clip, he was saying like, I would never submit to a woman. I would never submit to a woman. And she kept saying, and she kept, I think she was just using I know she was using the wrong term, because in this verse, Genesis 3:17, Yah is reprimanding Adam, saying like, because you listen to your wife's voice and have eaten of the tree, something that, which I commanded you not to do. I told you not to do that, but you listen to your wife's voice over me. That causes a man to sin. So when women try to like pressure or control a man and say like, and try to make men cater to their emotions and how they feel and stuff like that, you are urging that man to sin and go against Yah. It's definitely so deep. And so I wanted to look at, this video is called Men Are Not Evil, but Someone Programs You. And so we really have to look at who is really the evil one. Because from what I'm seeing, the man is just a righteous man, is trying to stay in alignment with the orders of the Most High Yah has commanded of him. But when women get upset and they decide for whatever reason, everything was all good when they were in a relationship with this man, but all of a sudden, when it ends, now they're turning around and saying like, oh, they're this, they're that, they're no good. But you was absorbing all of that righteousness before. And one may say like, oh, it's because I was gullible. It's like, no. Gullible is only connected to when you were being deceived and tricked with things that are not true. That's the only time it becomes you're a gullible woman, you were tricked, you were deceived. But if you was acting with your full mind and your discernment, you were reading scripture, you were living a righteous culture, and you said this is right, that was on you. No man was trying to control or oppress or deceive or trick you. So when that occurs, when the woman now goes on a rampage and attacking this man, a lot of times he does stay quiet. His voice is silenced. And I just think about the pain that men go through, and maybe I'll do a part 2 and I'll go into this more, but I just really had to question like, who is really the evil one? Because a lot of women, like, I've heard women speak about how painful, losing a child is. Let's say you experienced, a miscarriage or even an abortion, like that could be painful as well. It doesn't matter, it's both, it's all painful. That is, as a woman, for those who have experienced it, you know how painful it is. You know how painful it is. But men go through this. Oh, I wish I had the statistics, but I'm sure they go through this way more, that feeling of grief and loss, when women destroy the minds of their creation and their children and turn them against the Father. They have to let go of something that they created through the divine realm, like through the heavens, through the Most High Yah. That's a loss. That's like taking someone's child. That's like a woman experiencing a miscarriage or an abortion. They experience it, I'm sure, like men around the world every single day. When women take their child away from them, some men never met their child ever before in life. They was never able to develop any sort of relationship with them. So the grief that they have to feel is silence. What man do you ever hear talking about the pain of losing their children? And some women may have had that experience over multiple times with multiple children. That's a lot of loss. That's a lot of grief. And some never see the child ever again. So they lost a child. They lost someone. But do we listen to their story? No, we don't listen. They don't have like. They don't complain. They don't say anything, even though they should. That's very, very painful. Very, very painful. And I just was thinking about that, like, oh man, that's rough. All because he's supposed to bring order and not supposed to listen to the woman's voice if she's pulling him away from what Yah said. And he gets penalized. Everything gets destroyed because he's dealing with a foolish woman who tears down the house with her own hands. So the title is Men Are Not Evil, but Someone Programmed You. Obviously, right? Someone programmed you. Someone programmed us. And we have to fight every single day to filter out what's the program and what's Yah. We have, as women, it's a struggle. And I just share from personal experience, like as someone who is trying to walk a righteous path, like it's a constant struggle, because in one part I'm hearing like the program, like, oh, that's the program, that's the probably the ancestral trauma that's coming through, that was passed down. I hear it, but I'm thankful that I have enough self-control, emotional control, and discernment where I can say, like, okay, I know not to listen to you. You the program, because you sound just like every woman out there who has destroyed her house. So I'm going to ignore you. And I'm only going to listen to what I know is in alignment with what Yah says. And that's me moving as an empowered woman, not as a gullible woman. I'm empowered by my Creator. I'm empowered to follow the commandment that you should obey one master. I'm empowered by that. That gives me power. I have the choice. Like I chose, like I'm going to submit. I'm going to submit to you, Yah. I'm going to submit to my Creator. That empowers me as a woman, because I know that I can't easily be tricked and fooled by the world. I know that I am strong and resilient. And I'm speaking to any woman out there. They know those who are walking in righteousness, who have righteous coverings. They know the power that it brings to be able to have that situation, or to, walk upright. The power that surges through your body when you're not taking on evil acts. You don't have to go to bed at night and be like, oh, like think up in bed just thinking about all the things that you did wrong. You don't have those thoughts, because you're like, okay, I did this. I'm so thankful that I tried to do this. Even if I didn't accomplish everything, I'm trying. So you go to bed, you have a peaceful and restful night. You have good dreams. You don't have nightmares when you lay down. There's a peace and there's empowerment that comes with following the righteous order. And so that's all I wanted to speak about in this Sabbath conversation. And I would love to hear your thoughts, sisters, on this topic. And I'll see you in the next one. All right? Shabbat shalom. Peace.